These are the materials that we're going to be using. All this yarn is from the same brand, and I'm going to show you some extra details to the yarn there, as well as a pair of scissors and a 5mm hook are the materials for this project. So I'm using these other houndstooth beanies that I've made as reference for the hat that we're going to be crocheting today. So for the top part of your hat, you are going to need 7 rows from this part to here. And then when you switch stitches into the hound stitch now, you are going to crochet 13 rows. So this is just the design that I personally made, but you can easily make your own design, as well as follow the sequence that I have got going on here. So it is 7 rows from the top part until here, and then 13 rows of the houndstooth stitch, and then 2 extra rows of double crochet to make the brim of our beanie. And we can then just start. Okay, I'm using a 5mm hook for this project, and we can then just start. To start off my project, I'm going to make a magic circle. This is how you make a magic circle. I hold my yarn here, then I turn it 2 times. I always try to make an X here in the front, then I turn my yarn. You insert your hook here under, and then hook it up. You turn your hook, and then you hook up this extra piece of yarn to the side. And here you have a magic circle. So you want to add two chains. This chain 2 space, technically chain 3, is going to be acting as a double crochet. This is your first double crochet right here. And you're going to add 11 more double crochets into this magic circle. So that was my first, the second, third, until you have 12. Okay, I have 12 double crochets in this magic circle. So you're just gonna have to close off your magic circle. You do that by pulling on this extra piece of yarn until your project looks like this. So you will then attach your stitches by this first double crochet, by this first chain space right here in this chain 3. So just bring your project together. Okay, this chain 3 is acting as a double crochet, but every other chain that you make now is not a double crochet. It's just a chain space that you're going to leave alone. So to start off the next row, you chain 2, and then into that same chain space, you're going to add 2 double crochets. That was my first double crochet, and into that same space, I will add my second double crochet. Now into the next double crochet, you will add on 2 more. So in every single stitch, you're adding 2 double crochets until all of them here are 24. So just add 2 double crochet into every single double crochet stitch. That's 2. onto the next stitch. That's my first double crochet, and then my second. Oops. Two more into the fourth stitch. Until you reach the end. These are my last 3 double crochets. That was my third. And then the last 2 double crochets into the last stitch. Now all you have to do is attach the row. So like I told you, you ignore this chain 2 space and then you just slip stitch into the first double crochet. Once you slip stitch, you chain 2 again. And then now we want to continue working into that same double crochet. But this time around, you're just adding 1 double crochet here and then 2 more double crochets into the next stitch as an increase. So the increase is 1 double crochet into 1 stitch, like so. And then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Again, 1 double crochet into the next. And then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Continue this sequence of increasing until you reach this space right here. Again, you ignore the chain 2 space and then you slip stitch into the first double crochet. Continue the sequence and then I'll meet you there. Now on the last stitch, on the 3rd row, it's an increase, so I'm adding 2 double crochets into this one. That was my first, and then the last double crochet. After that, you slip stitch into the first double crochet right here. And now we're moving on to the 4th row. Again, you chain 2, and then now it is adding 2 double crochets into the first stitches and then increase into the 3rd. So single double crochet in the first stitch, another single double crochet into the 2nd, but into the 3rd stitch you're adding an increase. So 2 double crochets into the same stitch, just like this. So you're going to repeat the sequence until you reach the end again. So again, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the next. Almost done with the 4th row. What's only left is to add the 2 single double crochets into 2 stitches, and then in this last stitch you will add your increase. This top part of the hat is just basically increasing. And then you slip stitch into the first double crochet. Chain 2 again. And now for the 5th row, you are adding 1 double crochet into that same double crochet, 1 double crochet into the next, and then another singular double crochet, making them 3. You will then add an increase into the 4th stitch right there. So 2 double crochets into the 4th stitch. Moving on, it's 3 single double crochets into 3 stitches. That was my first, second, and then the 3rd. You then increase into the 4th stitch. The 5th row is now done, as you can see, and as always, you're going to slip stitch into the 1st double crochet. After that, you chain 2, and then our increase is now adding 4 double crochets into the next 4 stitches, and then increasing into the 5th. I have my chain 2 already, as well as the 1st double crochet. I'm gonna add the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th double crochet. And now into the 5th stitch, you're adding 2 double crochets. For this row, that is the increase method. Oops. That is the increase method. Again, 4 single double crochets. And then into the 5th stitch, 2 double crochets. Continue this until you reach the end of your row, and then you slip stitch into the 1st double crochet as always. So we've been crocheting and increasing for 6 rows now. To finish off this one, it is slip stitching into the 1st double crochet as the others. And now for our last row, already chained 2, and I'm going to add 5 single double crochets into the next 5 stitches, and then increase into the 6th stitch. So that was 1 crochet, 1 double crochet, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then my 5th single double crochet. Now into the 6th stitch, I'll add 2 as an increase. You are going to continue this until you reach this part. So that means 5 single double crochets into the next 5 stitches. And then 2 increases into the 6th stitch. I'll meet you once you are back to the beginning. Back at the beginning. We are now moving on to the houndstooth part of the beanie. Please note that throughout this entire video there is note of half double crochets and double crochets. That is an error on my part. I actually mean single crochets and double crochets. And even when you see me making a half double crochet, please note that is a single crochet in that place. Thank you. This 13 rows of the houndstooth stitch is what we're going to be doing. So the houndstooth stitch consists of half double crochets as well as double crochets. You're basically just going to be switching between double crochet, half double, double crochet, half double, double crochet. But I'm going to show you how you do that. So moving on with my project here, I'm going to be changing the colors out. So how I do that is I take my piece of yarn over, and then pull it through this space. I like to bring my yarn, like the extra end of my yarn, to the front, and then you make a chain, just 1 chain. While I crochet, I like to hide my previous string. It was like my strand of yarn under. So after chaining 1, you are then going to add a half double crochet into this first double crochet right here. yarn over and add your first half double crochet. After your first half double crochet, then add a double crochet. That's yarn over and you loop through twice. Yarn over into the next stitch, half double crochet. You loop through only once, like that. The next is going to be a double crochet. The next stitch, half double crochet. And the next, a double crochet. You can see that my last stitch was a double crochet, and then this is a half double crochet, and then double crochet, half double, double, half double. You're just switching out between these two stitches. So you're going to crochet right around and then come back until this last stitch. And then I'm going to show you how you continue further. Right now I added a double crochet. I'm gonna add a half double crochet, then a double. Into this last stitch, I'm going to be adding a half double crochet. So since we started off with a half double and we're ending it with a half double, I'm going to add a double crochet into the same exact stitch so that we can have some sort of like opposites. After you're done, you're gonna slip stitch into the first half double crochet to join your hat together. If you start off your row with a half double crochet, the following row you're starting it off in the same stitch with a double crochet. I'm personally following my Houndstooth beanie hat design, so which means that the next color I'm gonna work with is this orange red right here. So again, attaching my yarn to the project like so, and then I make a chain. You have to be careful to add the right stitches into the right stitch. So again, we started off with the half double crochet, which means that I'm starting off this row by inserting my hook into that first stitch, that first half double crochet stitch, and adding my double crochet. Since this stitch is double crochet, I will then put in a half double crochet stitch. Okay, do that again. And then into the next double crochet. Then the next half double crochet. Double crochet. And then into the next half double crochet. Continue this process until you reach the end, and then you slip stitch again into your first double crochet. I'm almost done with this row, and I just have to add the last one being a half double crochet because I started my row off with a double crochet. You're then just going to slip stitch into this double crochet again, and then switch out my color. That's what I'm doing personally. And you can kind of already see that the impression of the Houndstooth stitch is also already coming through. So now that I'm switching out my color again, I'm gonna chain one and then start my row off with a half double crochet. Just continue this sequence for 13 rows. It's just depending on how long you want your hat to be. Here, I'm just doing a small progress check to show you how the project is coming together. And honestly, I'm obsessed with the colors. Just look at this color combination. So I have a few more rows to go, and then we're gonna meet when we are starting the brim of the hat. I'm gonna be moving on now to the brim of the beanie. Again, referencing my old hats, we are starting with this row of double crochets. So starting, if we want to make the brim now, I'm just going to switch my colors into this color right here by attaching my yarn. So for this row, I'm just making double crochets into every single stitch. I chain 2 right now, and then into that exact same double crochet that you last made, you're just going to add double crochets into every single stitch right around. There are going to be some slight changes into the second row, but so far, just make sure that you bring in 1 double crochet into every single stitch in this row. Just like so. Oops. Again, I also like to hide my yarn while I'm working at the same time. That's enough for me. I just bring it then to the back and then continue feeding in 1 double crochet into every single stitch right around. So you do that, and then we are going to meet each other right back to this stitch, and what you're going to do is slip stitch into that first double crochet that you made, not the chain 2 space, but into the double crochet. I just finished off my first row of double crochets, and again we're gonna chain 2 to start off the next row. So the slight changes that is gonna happen is that you are going to yarn over and then make a double crochet in the back of this first double crochet right here. Like again, yarn over, you push your hook in the back of that 1 single double crochet, and then you just make a normal double crochet like so. As you can see, then we have this next stitch here free. You will then just make a normal double crochet, a normal stitch in that stitch. But now again, you yarn over, and into the third stitch here now, you're going to add your back loop double crochet again. Into the next stitch is just a normal double crochet. Try to make sure that you do not add the same stitches into the same, you don't add 2 stitches into the same stitch. It has to be a single stitch per stitch. Again, we're going in the back loop of this one. I make my double crochet, then I yarn over and then make my normal, just a normal double crochet stitch into the next stitch. The next one is a back loop double crochet. You can actually just finish off your project in this row right here, but me personally, I want to add an extra row doing the same method that I'm doing in this row right here with the yellow color. So it's all depending on you and how big you want your hat to be, but just for design purposes, I'm going to add an extra row. Here is a point of correction for anybody who decides to add this extra row, just like I mentioned that I would do. I'm not going to repeat exactly what I did here. The method is the same, but then you're also going to be taking on the houndstooth method again. So it's basically that you are adding a double crochet in the back loop, and then as a normal stitch, you're adding a half double crochet. Double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet, double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet. If you do want to make your hat a bit longer, you could just repeat the same process of double crochets in a different color, or just repeat the houndstooth method again just to give this effect right here. You could just see how I did it also on this hat as well as this hat right here. So I'm just going to show you how it looks like when the hat is done. So first of all, never mind I am not adding the extra row of yellow that I wanted to this hat because this hat is already pretty big on its own. And to be honest, I feel like just because I use the same brand and same type of yarn, this hat managed to stay consistently big. But I've overall now made like 5 houndstooth beanies now, and for these other beanies I've always mixed up my yarn. To be honest, I don't really mind personally if the yarn is a bit different or what, just as long as it brings my project to life. And to be honest, I am really happy with this. And yeah, happy crocheting. Let me know what you think about the video, the tutorial, the hats, everything, and then I will catch you in the next video. You can also follow me on my other social media platforms, but until then, take care.